my little Lord, there he is.
Yeah, the whole thing reminded me of Deadwood when Wild Bill's helping the sheriff or whatever build the house. And that guy comes by and he's like, "Hey, Wild Bill, I love you. I saw your show up." And he kept bugging him, and then Wild Bill finally goes, "I just want to be left alone."
Wait,
And he comes back.
Wild Bill.
Yeah, wasn't that?
I was literally just watching that scene. It's paused on my HBO because this call came in. Yes.
Yeah, I'm getting it right. Like Bullock, and then he's like,
yes,
he's a big fan of Wild Bill. Wild Bill doesn't want to come down and do the meet and greet, and then he ends up shooting him in the noggin. Right? It's the same that drunken.
That one movie that
later
Jackman was in, where he played Bill or something. The sheriff.
Unforgiven.
Unforgiven. Yeah. Sorry, you're right. Oh, you're thinking.
Yeah, you can't. But his line was, "You can't kill me. I'm building a house." Something like that.
Yeah.
And then I like another line in that movie, Unforgiven, where the kid shoots that guy, and he says, "I guess he had it coming, huh?"
The blind kid?
No, when the kid shoots that guy coming out of the toilet.
Yeah.
and then he's all, he talked a big game about being a killer, and then he's all, remorseful.
Blind kid, yeah.
Yeah. And then he goes, you think he had it coming? He goes, "We all got it coming." And Clint Eastwood is still a douchebag.
That was a good movie, though, Unforgiven.
One of the best. Yeah. I feel like
I like all Clint Eastwood's movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even like that skit he did with the chair. Look at Dope Smoking Erickson.
I
skipped that one.
Yeah. Look at how in real time he is.
I know. I'm not used to seeing him like this.
It's pretty wild, huh? No latency, baby.
Yeah. Where's that deer in the headlights?
So then that means someone is going to drop down. Right now, it looks like it might be me.
I figured out a better angle. That's it. That's
well, I'm set on internet, boys, because I had my guy come in and hook up my Google fiber optic yesterday. And we went from, I think I was averaging about 20 megabits per second in West Hollywood, and I'm now at a 600 and some. So I don't know what any of that means.
But I don't either.
It means you probably have about 5,000 less homeless people with cell phones around you.
The guy who installed it told me that in this house we could stream 15 4K movies at once without slowing it down. So I think Issues with Andy should be
Mitchell may test that. I've seen a hangover day.
I tried to today, man. We got here on Tuesday. I'm in Austin, Texas, where I live now.
Yesterday.
And we get here on Tuesday, or we get here on Monday, and I texted the mover, and I said, "When are you going to be here tomorrow?" And he's like, "Well, we're loading her up. Well, I'll let you know." I'm like, "All right." So the next on Tuesday, I call him, and I'm like, "Hey, I just we're here, we're waiting, we're just wondering when you're going to be here today." And he goes, "Today?" And I was like, "Oh, no. He's like, "Oh, we just loaded the truck today." I'm like, "You're fucking kidding me." So now we're in this big house with no furniture till Saturday.
Explains the echo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got joints, and that matters.
Yeah.
But the way to continue the story then, so we didn't have much to do last night except drink and do a bunch of Molly and run around an empty house. So today, as we were all trying to recover and get our serotonin levels back and hydrate ourselves, Mitchell gets all antsy and she's like, "I want to go buy a TV." Because we've got this huge living room now with this giant wall that needs a big TV on it. And I was just like, I could fucking hung over. My head is pounding. I can barely stand up. And now I got to go to fucking Best Buy and try to decide if I need a QLED or an OLED 75 inch. Like, fuck.
The best part of this story is, I don't know where it's going, but it's like when Mitchell says, "We need a TV, let's go get a TV," then it ends with her buying the TV, and then your adventure begins with installing a TV on the wall of a home you just moved into.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah.
Didn't Rogan just redo his man cave? You should look in the trash. There's probably like LED TVs and
listen.
Sloppy seconds.
We might be pretty tight with Joe, but I don't have his address yet. So as soon as I get, maybe I'll be fucking stalking him like the rest of those cunts.
Elon Musk probably throws out a flat screen.
Well,
like every hour.
Yeah.
The only reason Mitchell even wants this TV right now is because our other TVs are on a fucking truck. If the other TVs were here, we could take our time getting this new TV, but they're not here. So
but it sounds like that wall's going to need more inch of screen. You know,
it's going to be it's going to be quite something.
I feel like it's the first scene of the movie. Well, not the first scene, but early on in Scarface. Mitchell and Erickson arrive in Austin and the fucking moon. You want the moon? You know, getting bigger, you know. Pretty soon Erickson will be fucking walking around shirtless with a tiger.
and a orangutan serving him drinks.
Oh, I can't even have a baby with you. Your womb is so polluted.
You're pretty good at remembering old movies, Andy. Have you just been rewatching some classics?
I just remember fucked up shit. It's like I think about my dad would go, "Oh, there was a mudslide there that killed 6 people," and I just remember lines from movies like fucking I can't remember the name of the movie, the fucking Full Metal Jacket, where he's shooting down and goes, "How can you shoot women and children? Because you don't lead them as much." And that's like, oh fuck, that's that's something to shove some happy memory of a birthday party out of my head and replace it, because that's just too valuable to not have in your brain for short reference. And then my dad would go, "Well, that's where 6 people were murdered." All right, keep driving, Dad. Yeah, he would remember that and places to eat. Back, we'd drive by and go, "Oh, there's a good pie place over here," and it's right. And I still remember the place where the mudslides are. I never researched it, but my dad was probably giving me those. What are they called, Chad? Those fantastic horrors that are on the YouTube.
Oh yeah, fantastic horror, fascinating horror.
Yeah, that's just my dad would just do that. I guess that's what happened. He's one of his defining moments was seeing somebody's head get lopped off in a traffic accident. Like he was just on a sidewalk, probably holding old fucking white trash records. No offense, but my dad bought the same stupid shit everybody else did, and it was fucking shitty. Well, I mean, the music of the day was not good.
What
would be, big band. But
there's a thing. Hold on. There's a thing on YouTube. What's in your bag? And they talk about Fat Mike to find out what records Fat Mike bought from Amoeba Records. What's in your dad's bag?
Well, there'd be like I can't think of a bunch of novelty orchestras, like that
Spike Jones?
Spike Jones, but not Spike Jones, like the worst versions of it, the ones where you can't even go, well, I'll hang on to this one. I mean, David rifled them and got kind of the cool titles, and then by the time Larry went through them, and eliminated that, and then what happened was my dad had kidney failure. To go along with the other things that didn't go right. And I was the only one around at the time, so I cleaned out his room, his hoard, where his hospital bed was, but it had to be a sterile room. So my dad had to be displaced from living amongst walls of records, boxes of old fucking First Day cover stamps, coin collections, fingernail clipper collections, whatever. He just had
fingernail, like the clippers.
He would. It was a weird thing with him because he had like it was like a man purse that he just slung on the back of his wheelchair, like a little things, and he would have shit in that, and it was his own like fucking thing. And then he fingernail clippers. He didn't like parting with them. You go, hey, where? Eventually, everybody's like, or somebody would go, where's the fingernail clippers? And my dad would go, oh, and then he'd bring out a pair and say, they always disappear around here. And it was like, okay, so you know, when he passed and we got to really go, well, I'll get back to when I was cleaning it out for kidney failure, and I took all his shit out of his room, and all the records I carried up and put in one room, and while I'm in the middle of all this fucking just taking all of my dad's hoard, and then I had to clean everything. My brother Larry got kicked out of jail or released from jail with a broken heart. he had a broken heart, and so you know, if you've ever tried to work with somebody with a broken heart, they're not going to help. So basically, I was carrying fucking, you know, all his records, is fucking sweating and carrying them up and putting them down. And then Larry was in there fucking rifling them. You fucking motherfucker with a broken heart. You can do this shit. He had like 30 records stashed over, you know, like he can't help me with shit on there. I painted everything and we got Dad moved back in, but it was short lived. No, he was there for a while. And things really went downhill health wise. That's when you know, he started. My dad had nothing below the knees, and he had diabetes, kidney failure, congestive heart failure, and he's a skosh heavy for a guy with no feet. Although we could not prove it by putting him on a scale.
Yeah, you'd have to get one of those scales that they weigh big halibut in Alaska.
Yeah. And he had
to wheel Dad to where they recycle cans.
Yeah.
Hold on, Dad. You know.
And he had.
But you'd have to put him in a shopping cart.
Shopping cart would have been more mobile because he had like these Ernst and Jennings or whatever, the fucking the vets, you know, you guys go over there, storm Normandy or whatever, and then you need a wheelchair. They don't even want you to have wide wheels. you fucking gave up your life and stormed the beaches, and they give you these fucking real thin. My dad had these fucking wheelchairs, and that's why he would tip over, you know, the inattentive nature of the family, and you know, but sometimes those were just tip hazards. And he had this one wheelchair.
9-year-old was in charge of Dad's care. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I wasn't. You know. I mean, I was no Nurse Ratched. I was not a disciplinarian on it. But one of the wheelchairs, you know, he had this big fucking one like a love seat. I don't know how fucking fat they thought he was getting. And he always sat in a regular sized wheelchair, and then towards the end they gave him a fat man's wheelchair, and then my dad resisted that by shrinking even more. It was like that Jimmy Carter photo everybody saw. How hilarious! How fucking wonderful.
So Andy, what you're saying is, like everyone knows what a regular wheelchair looks like. That someone in the healthcare profession decided your dad needed an extra wide chair.
Yeah, well, and maybe it was just he just clunky fucking wheelchairs and components and shit. And maybe it was, you know, I don't know how that was one we were dragging him around in towards the end. It was like, God damn, man, it was like that Lily Tomlin sitting in the big chair or whatever, you know.
The two.
But we'd have fucked up. I don't know why Larry never took an interest in remodeling and fixing up them wheelchairs, but they would break down, you know, the wheels would come off, and you'd take them over to the Roseburg VA hospital. That was always a fun day. We'd load up as a family and drive over to the VA hospital, and my dad would have a 4 or 5 hour wait and be all pissed off, and Mom would be staggering around talking to whatever insane vet. And yeah, it was a good time for the kids. That's what they mean by at risk. I can't believe I didn't.
Isn't that how you met your molester?
I met him through the VA hospital. Yeah, it was like that song. It's fun to play at the YMCA. It should have been a song that said, "Hey kids, don't play at the vets, at the VA.
Don't go play at the VA.
You get
stay away from the damn VA."
You get it right in the A if you go to the VA. And I told you guys this at one time. Well, this was my grandpappy. He was my mom, my grandma's. Well, he wasn't my real grandpa. My real grandpa had the decency to kill himself many years before this. And this grandpa was in that home, And he was, I don't know what level of troop he was or whatever, but he was getting the same shitty treatment and sitting in his own fucking shit. And then he got put over in like a loony ward. There was like one area where it's like, kind of calm and like a patio and people having fun. And then on the other side of the wall, you could hear people yelling and you could somebody singing the national anthem and usually bedlam. But then when Grandpa Larry was over there, I went over there and there's a canteen. You could go get stuff, VA stuff, so it was cheap, junky stuff. And I think my mom would give me $10 or and then I'd steal another $5 out of change, the hole in her purse. But I bought socks, and I felt like I wanted to give the vets socks for Christmas. And I took them. It was like a 6-pack, and I ripped them open in there, and I gave a guy socks, and then. When
so you were just hitting on people over there at the hospital.
Maybe you instigated it.
Yeah, some victim blaming going on, but I don't know.
I don't want to.
Such a flirt, right?
Look at these new socks.
Hey, boys, I noticed you don't have any socks. Thanks, I support you. Thanks for what you do over there.
Oh, sorry, you don't have feet. Do you have a roommate?
That's what it is.
Yeah, I was drawn to vets. It's a bummer. But I went in there and I gave. It was like feeding seagulls, though. I gave one crazy dude, but I remember they scared. I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared of any. Well, these people made me very scared after the sock incident. I refused to go up in there to see Grandpa Larry, and fuck him, he never really liked me anyway. He had his chances. He made it clear. He goes, he didn't like kids, but he liked teenagers. It's so cool when a guy knows what he's into. So I never got old enough around Grandpa Larry to turn his head. That was his name too. Yeah, we had Larry and Grandpa Larry, and I think Larry ended up with Grandpa Larry's gold teeth by default.
Because they said Larry on them?
Well, Grandma thought that
was because they fit.
My grandma had, she's just real tacky, I guess. She'd fit in Bisbee. She'd be all turquoise. Turquoise and fucking bedazzled with minerals and shit.
Right on.
But she melted all Larry's teeth into one big tooth. And my grandma wore that. She went
for the big chewing job.
She was always one. She was like, I need a chain to put this gold on, and she bought into that. And who doesn't? That's why I got gold bars around here to represent wealth. But she thought, gold, hang on to the gold or whatever. But nobody ever saw that gold tooth after May was gone.
But see, you need more than one tooth for a tooth to work.
It was a bunch of teeth. They took out when he died. They melted him or whatever, and then he had he was a Scotsman, so he's probably hoarding it there for.
He probably had some gold teeth in his pocket.
Yeah, in lieu of tipping, he got gold plates on his teeth.
I'm still picturing Larry breaking into the mortuary, crouched over dead Grandpa with a hammer and chisel, harvesting teeth. That's probably how Larry ended up with them.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd harvest. I don't think he was. I think he had a pretty good I don't know what you'd call it, income, but good barter power back in his real crazy days. So I don't think he really got into digging up anything, but he probably could have had somebody, dig it up for him. I don't know what he was.
I'm a little.
He was like a shoe salesman who also drove the truck.
Reset the stage for me and everyone a little bit. This is your Grandpa Larry.
Well,
is he your step grandpa, or did he marry your grandma after your other grandpa committed suicide?
Yeah, my grandma went.
And this is your mom's or your dad's mother?
My dad's mom, and she was. All I knew about her was she was a drunk party girl. And when my dad's dad was a suicide, and my dad found him, and his his ex-wife at the time, she tailspinned into, so anyway, she was a problem. My dad had to kind of take care of her, instead of his dream job, he took care of his mom who had big cans and a loud mouth and fucking, I dug her, I could see but it was always like there was a resentment. This was as dark as it got around my house, and the health problems is my dad with no legs, and he was on oxygen, and my grandma was on oxygen. And I remember my dad going, "Where's that oxygen?" And is she in there hogging it?
Oh, God.
It's a bummer when you got 2 generations on one oxygen tank in any country.
Oh.
But that's what was going on.
Oh, that's a real Sophie's choice there.
But she was always trying to make it up.
Andy, they were
Yeah.
sharing one tank.
Yeah, at the end at the Enders house, there and Dad Larry was upstairs. He had that's where he had the fucking little windows chipped out and was running spliced cables and and he was out of. So yeah, when the kidney thing happened, this was a few years later, Larry started running amok. For a while, he adjusted and was helping because we really needed somebody there with my dad and the kidney dialysis on top of everything else. My mom was not real, like she would go to the store with a grocery list a block away from the house and get to the store, no list, no fucking list, and it happens to me quite a bit too. But it's just like I don't have to take care of another person with the amount of shit, like my mom was basically a full-time nurse with no training and and criticism to boot. And then Grandma May moved in, and then Larry out of jail was going to be, he's going to pitch in and help. And I think he did get a check for helping, like somehow like he got a check for that. But then, he fell back into
Larry
shit.
finagled the VA program, got paid.
Yeah, like that.
I
I don't think he finagled it, but
you guys didn't do it.
and I think he was there to do. It was like nobody. I was off. I think I was off learning how to exploit the college system, for not for grades, but for Pell Grant money or whatever. But Larry was, he was off adventuring in jail, and then he bounced
get out of
in.
jail and have a girlfriend or
Larry always had chicks.
he had someone like right out of jail, didn't he? Or someone he met while he was in jail, like a pen
I
pal?
don't know. He had there was how there's the trades in the NFL.
I like where this is going already.
I think him and George traded ladies, and then one took off, and I don't know if he still had the signing rights or whatever, but he had
Got a girlfriend to be named later.
Yeah, I think Larry had
a red shirt.
Larry had chicks from probably the age of 15 until whenever, he still buys fucking new shoes and pants, so he still has plans. But he can't even, not that he doesn't need to anymore, but I don't even know if he could walk into the yard far enough to shit without getting, out of breath. So I don't think he's going to find a lady.
She's got to be real close, is what you're saying. She's closer than one shit away.
But I really.
What are the steps to a shit away?
I was telling Chad, I listened to the Captain Hook, and I liked what he said about
Dr.
Hook.
Him too,
Are you
Captain
talking
Hook.
about-
It's
talking
all
about-
pirate songs.
What he said about what he says
Captain
about
Hook,
being.
you mean the Disney character?
The Captain Hook podcast is still coming up, but that hasn't been released yet.
He's doing all the hooks.
Dustin Hoffman's on that one. I think Dustin was mentioned in that one, right? But anyway, like about getting married, he goes, I'm going to start an adventure. I think I'll climb a mountain. I think I need a bag of rocks. And that's what, I think Larry was an adventurer, and he just always had a bag of rocks, like he didn't need, he needed he just needed to run amok and not have shit around for a while. He didn't, Larry didn't get
a wild mare like that down. Oh, it wouldn't be a mare, would it? A stallion.
Yeah,
he was a stallion like that needs to run free.
Right. He should have. Larry should have stayed on his own. He would have had a yard with peacocks and a bunch of weird shit.
You would be walking the tiger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Me-
So the fucking
Meanwhile, Larry huffed a whole tank of oxygen, and now Grandma and Dad have to share one because Larry huffed
Well,
it.
no,
Hogging
Grandpa
the
Larry
O2.
went out early, but he didn't like me, and he, he's a fucking he was a drunk too, but and a Scotsman, so trifecta there, but he didn't like me, and then when he was in a nursing home before he went to the final stay at the veterans or whatever it was, I went in there and he had a stroke, and Grandma May goes, "Do you know who this is?" And he goes, "Yeah, Big Bandy." That's the first time I've even heard him try a variation of my name, because he just didn't give a shit. But he called me Bandy.
Called you Bandy?
Well, he was trying to say, and he's trying. I think he's, it's like, I think more out of stubborn pride, he was trying to answer the question, because May was saying,
Yeah, of course I fucking know who it is.
Yeah,
You old bag.
I'm Bandy. I didn't get a chance to go up to him, that was probably the last time I saw him.
What-
But it would
What
have
if
been cool
he
to go,
always
hey man.
hated you? What if he always hated you? He thought you had a stupid name, Bandy. That's a fucking dumbass name. I hate this fucking
What
kid.
name is
And
that?
then on his deathbed, he finds
Little
out it's
kid.
Andy, and he's like, "Ah."
I don't know if I kept the spirit
might-
alive,
Who
but
from
me and my
Bandy?
brother Jeff used to drive. We got a hold of his Dodge truck. That we inherited that, and that was fun to get airborne. There's this place right by our house that you go up a hill, and then it had I forget how it was configured, but you could just go up that fast and launch into the air, and not like Dukes of Hazzard.
Like the French Connection when they go.
But it was like it wasn't like a leap over a bridge. It was more like a skateboarder, and you go woo, fuck, I don't know. I think you'd land more on the back end of the truck, like more towards the tailgate than the front wheels. And my brother Jeff was the first one who learned how to do it, and then I kind of got that truck, and I took over. And it was just a short little loop from the house, so how could you not take the extra minute to drive around and endanger yourself and the neighbors?
Yeah. You have one way you can go with no jump, and another way you can go with a jump.
Yeah, and Lucky, and that was there's the nicest house in Coquille is the Lucky Bonnie Mansion, and that was just I would have been Dukes of Hazzarding right in front of the Lucky Bonnie house. And yeah, my brothers, we fucked up a lot of Lucky Bonnie's shit, but it was it was all in it was all an adventure. We didn't do it maliciously. We were just bad neighbors.
Sometimes your own party spills over into the party next door.
Yeah, it's like that's why they don't want white trash around. It's not because they hate. It's just because white trash don't know anything. Like for instance, Lucky Bonnie had these rolling ivy, like mounds, and you could get up on them and leap off and do like pro wrestling and shit. But I didn't think of how much fucking work that must take. Whoa, oh man, did you see what Lucky Bonnie did with them hedges? That must take hours. But we just got up on there and jumped around and smashed it all down. And I guess, to him, that ivy was a lot of hard work and a source of pride to look out the window and see this funky, cool shit. But I'm starting to realize I've had a fucking bad impact on things because I'm an asshole, and the learning curve's been difficult. Let's just say that.
It's still curving.
And then so Lucky Bonnie also had these woods behind his house, and we would play Vietnam in there. It's fine. I don't know. We never played Planet of the Apes there. It seems like it would have been a cool place
Wait
to
a
do.
minute. Slow down a minute. Now, when I was a kid, me and the kids in the neighborhood, we played war.
Yes.
But we didn't specifically play Vietnam. I think
wait, did you have a jungle? It sounds like you had a jungle to play.
Jungle, but I mean, just the idea, like how that changes the filter through which this whole game is played.
It's like a weird awareness thing that like a young kid would go, to be accurate, we should be playing Vietnam.
Yeah.
Right.
This is Saigon.
I mean, in the traditional ways you want to play it as a kid, you want to win. You want to win.
The one one kid's yelling, "I'm gonna kill you, Japs!" And you have to stop. Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Oh.
It's Gooks. We're not killing you. You have to yell. We're killing to kill you, Gooks.
Yeah. All I know is you
You're
come
out
out
of the
of the,
game, Tommy.
you know, my brothers, you know, you're friends, you run through them woods and there's some briars and it's, you know, sloped. And again, I'm talking terrain
Slow.
here, yo.
Whoa.
I'm talking terrain.
Come on now.
Slope. There's ditches. Again, I'm talking terrain. So it was full on, you know, Vietnam hell, and then backwoods of Lucky Bonnies were at least heck. And I would come out of them woods, and it was Vietnam, man. We were in a quagmire. There was no clear victory to, you know, path to
No
victory.
clear path.
Yeah,
Yes,
just
sir.
running around and yelling at each other and shooting. You're dead. No, you're dead. No, your fucking legs off, motherfucker. You know, we
Yeah.
didn't use that kind of talk because I didn't know it yet. I wish I
love
would
that
have.
Andy's basically describing that when he was a kid, they went into the jungle, played Vietnam, and is just telling us that he was in the shit.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was in the shit.
Shit, man. Fucking
You're playing
no legs.
when you're playing with older brothers, any kind of a fucking war game. You know, yeah,
With-
I get.
Andy, with having older brothers, like I've noticed, like with having grandkids, each one is just more street smart as they fucking keep pumping them out. The littler ones just get street smart earlier and earlier. What age did you start using cuss words? Because you said you didn't like that. I would think it'd be a
Probably
real
about
early
sixth
age.
Grade,
Sixth grade. Wow.
I mean,
I was
watching
fourth.
pornos before.
I was
going.
fourth when I realized that. Oh wow.
Yeah, the first time I watched porno with my friend Steve, the older gentleman that rented it for me to watch, I didn't even know
Whoa,
what
whoa.
was going on.
Come on. Your first porno, someone rented it?
Yeah, my man. Well, when I get
Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah, so I
That
would go,
guy.
yeah, like, you know, there would be a video store, and then there would be like the old West doors to a room,
Uh-huh.
and he would go in there, and I'd have to stand there. I wonder, get an adventure, Uncle Steve.
So wait, so there's a guy who walks into the video store
Yeah.
with a young boy that's not his, that he leaves standing at the Western style swinging gates of the porn section of the video store. Nobody.
Or there
Nobody
was
said
one
crazy.
where you could go through a flip book and look at titles. That I remember that too.
Well,
But
hold on a second. This is when video stores pre-Blockbuster.
oh yeah, this
There
would have
would be
been.
I remember because in the late 70s, early 80s, my dad speculated and bought a Betamax machine.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Had that, and the
yeah.
local video store sold a lifetime membership in 1978. A lifetime membership to their Betamax selection of video, and there would be an area in the back that would have the swinging saloon doors that were
Yeah.
18 and over could go in.
Yeah.
And this was the way you got videos back then. You had to go somewhere that was not a chain. It was a mom and pop that had to buy
Yeah.
things. And it was so fucking crazy because my parents hemmed and hawed to buy that lifetime membership. I think the
Lasted
Betamax,
3 months. Yeah.
I think the Betamax lasted longer than the video store.
Well,
Yeah.
that it was the lifetime of Betamax, not the lifetime of the purchaser.
This
yeah.
tells you specifically what years
I think the
I was in
format
trouble.
lasted longer than the store.
Yeah.
This tells you when I did my film work. He would film me, I would get filmed in beta. So, it's like, you know, like neither of us saw that coming.
Standard at the time. So
You
Andy,
know,
he
I'm
was
putting
very
on-
Yeah.
shrewd.
Be- Beta
Basically,
should
I
have
was
won that
molested in, like,
war.
I was,
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
they're not even doing that anymore. Now we're doing speakies. Oh shit, man! I was silent film actor of the day, and then they switched. No, everybody's getting molested in VHS now. Ah, son of a bitch! I gotta reshoot my portfolio.
I'm having a hard time sharing this with all the fellas
Yeah.
internationally.
Getting
Yeah.
tired of taking copies over to their
When-
house.
Yeah,
when
that's
we would
probably-
go rent when we'd go rent movies, it was like that with the little doors or the curtain, just a fucking
yeah.
like a red curtain that you go. But we would always have to rent a VCR when we wanted to rent a movie, and
The
they'd
one-
give it to you in it was like a suitcase
Yeah,
encased in plastic. You'd have to haul it out and go home and hook it up to watch a movie.
Man, how horny are you, and how bad do you want to beat off that you're gonna go into any business and come out with a suitcase full of shit?
Yeah. Well, my family
Just
did
go
that.
rub one out. Use your imagination. How did porn even work at the beginning? How did it start? How did the
That's
business
how
model
expensive VCRs were to begin with.
Erickson, your sunset's looking pretty cool out there. The
That's
sky
not
looks
bad,
blue with that fading down to
this
pink. It looks nice.
It's fucking my lighting all up. I understand that, but it was pretty hastily set up.
You're forgiven.
So, yeah, all right.
Your movers are still
Next
on
week.
the road.
Studio C will be in full effect. I won't be sitting in a camping chair. Oh. So Andy, you said that family. What did you call them? The Lucky Bonnies, or?
Oh, his name was Lucky, and yeah, his.
Is this their
Lucky
mansion
Bonnie.
right here?
No, that ain't it. That's a modern mansion in Coke. Is that even Coke? But the Lucky Bonnie, it's his Bonney. It's kind of a historic. It is a historic home in Coquille.
So Lucky Bonnie is a person?
Yeah, he was, and he went. I was the only one of the family that ever made it. Like, well, I think Larry had been in actually. Statute of limitations and all.
There.
But
They-
I got invited to the back of the house. I was a paper boy and I would collect, and I think he forgave me for the sins of the family or whatever.
So he's an old guy.
Yeah, he was an old dude. He was. You remember the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, John McKay?
Yes.
Lucky Bonnie played football with that dude, so he
Okay.
was that age. But eventually, he was giving me his old Sports Illustrateds, and I wallpapered. I like to wallpaper my room with sports and stuff. I'd chuck the swimsuit issues aside and hang up O.J.
Yeah.
Simpson and Evil
Like-
Knievel
Like
and
to
my heroes.
But
Andy,
you were getting enough porn in your life. You didn't need to splatter it onto your walls.
Well,
hold on a second. You were
That was
posting
porn,
men-
Dandy.
yeah. What's that, Greg?
You were posting men on your walls.
I wallpapered with athletes.
It was like sports. I had
Yeah.
picture. I had Walter
Right.
Payton
Posters, but I would do,
Yeah,
8x10s.
pictures of sports.
Once
That's
I
not-
started getting molested, I replaced
Yeah,
those
weird.
with the chicks. I'd go over to the fair, win me some Heather posters,
Yeah.
and put those up or fair, and I'd stare at those nipples and stuff. And I stopped
Uh.
caring about sports. It wasn't I was getting tuned into something by somebody, the wrong person.
Yeah.
But I was ready. I was like that porno. I was like that. It's like, yeah. It's like, I'm interested in that, but how do I, I don't like, I wasn't into the stag film setting with Pat Gacy or whatever the fuck with his fucking flip flop arms and shit and his big, fucking knee braces and shit. It's like,
Ugh.
that's dude, man. I want to hang with you. That's the whole thing. It's like, let kids choose. If I want to watch porno with a gentleman, can I at least choose
Yeah.
the movie and the man? And if I could choose any man who when I was a kid to molest me, now as an adult, I would say, get a fucking pretty sickly little dwarf that's a perv. Somebody that you can fucking fight back on an even level. That's who I would choose. 80-pound nymphal
what-
little grandpa.
So what happened when Lucky Bonnie brought you around to the back of the house?
Well,
on your-
that was the thing. I was a trusting little scamp, I would go and hang out, and he would sit and look at Sports Illustrated, and but he wasn't a creep. Or at least, he never got the first base.
I don't know. He might have been late.
Yeah, he was just
Maybe
slow.
he wasn't crafty enough, but he was definitely a creep.
Yeah, he didn't
Yeah.
know you were pre-groomed.
Yeah. I mean, I look back at almost everything now. I'm starting to, like you go, I'm woke or whatever. And it's like, oh, are you? Because you got to go way back to be woke. And it's like, there's shit I thought about. Just like today, I was on a walk and I was like, I'll bet that guy, I know, it's like, there was a guy, and I'll change the name. Chad is, no, not Chad. I'll change his name.
Brett.
Hey!
not Brett. Frank.
Sort of does
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Wait, I might have just said the guy. No, it was similar to that. But let's just call him Ronnie. Ronnie and Juanita, and that's closer to her name than I want it to be. We're on a date, and he fucked her, and then so he probably just told a friend because he just wasn't sure this was a part of the thing that he fucked her and she had shit on his dick. So it's probably not the thing you know. That's somebody you go, hey man, I really need to make sure you're not going to share this with anybody. Because this was the guy who had pubic hair, like probably in 4th grade. He was probably shaving his balls. Just fucking the guy, you know, fully mature
crazy
dude.
lumberjack
That
kid.
guy. And he was probably fucking righteously fucking back in them days. And he probably, you know, obviously it wasn't. But I was like, man, I couldn't process that. It's like, wow, how did he, you know, how does this even happen? And now I know how it happened. I'm woke. He fucked her and he got into her asshole and he pulled out her dinner a little bit.
What was her dinner?
Well, what he needed at that time was a friend who wouldn't spread that around because those kind of things, they weaken your standing in the herd. And there's no reason he should not Chad, not that either. He should have held his head high and said, man, what are you going to do? I've been getting fucking erections since I was 3. I've had pubic hair since I was 6, you know, I'm going to be fucking and I'm going to miss the hole now and then because I'm still a kid and awkward in other ways. That's what, you know, but instead he got, you know, you fuck the shit out of her. Oh, man.
Tom's wild,
the dude who goes
with the girl,
Oregon. Yeah, and 5 fingers. The 5-finger girl. Hey, man, you just went out with a dude who was probably a little forceful or has a big mouth. It's nothing against you having a big vagina. And I probably should have said, hey, man, when you say you jammed 5 fingers in there, I hope you used it in a fist because otherwise you rip her up. Aren't you glad you weren't?
Are you trying to be a female advocate right now?
I have no idea what the fuck.
I'm just saying. Oh, for instance, here's another one. When I was not woke, but this is after I went down and started watching pornos. But other kids in Coquille who were raped by the principal we would grope girls in the public pool. But there was a few girls.
Much here going on.
I know.
I know.
Yeah. The drunk vocals teacher ran the public pool. He'd let us in. Ian would let us into the pool, and you'd stand there. There was always probably more than a handful of perverts. You know, the guys from Bill's Place go over with their fucking Speedos, just standing there.
From the local bar, Bill's
Place.
Place.
Like a half a block from Bill's Place to the public dressing room for the kids. In there, and then then you go in there, and then the older girls, they were older to us. It's like I was a 5th grader. I saw my first porno that summer, but in 5th and 6th grade, and then we'd grope them, just like reach. You know, I don't think I ever went under the suit, but it was like the Trump thing. Oh, when you're a celebrity, but it's like I didn't even have that sense of entitlement. I was just nature, nurture, saw it on TV kind of thing. Other people were doing it. I didn't even. I mean, they would have had to explain it to me. Like, man, you've been in a coma. Don't you understand? No, what you're doing is wrong. Why is this? No, oh, I'm sorry. No. Who are you? You know, you couldn't have woke me there because that was the thing, and we'd do it, and they didn't. You know, they didn't seem to mind, but maybe they didn't mind a whole bunch. I don't know. And I don't think he fucked the shit out of her. I think he put his dick in her asshole and got shit on it. And that poor girl who was known as 5 Fingers, it's like, man, fuck Roy. He's a dick. Roy, you know, Roy's the one who banged her and, you know, like, oh. I'm not good with this alias shit.
I love this.
But yeah,
Andy's town is like that Twilight Zone episode of Stop at Willoughby, but it's the whole town is just filled with fucking perverts though. Like you just what? This is not real. How can this be?
It does seem like that.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean,
maybe here's the thing. Maybe every town is filled with perverts like that. But Andy was just such a hot kid and such an available kid that everybody was making a play for him. And
No,
and maybe we just weren't the kind of kids that garnered interest.
But I mean,
I-
well,
I was pretty ugly. And
But
I
it's
was
also-
exposed to a lot of shady people all the time and by
Yeah.
myself, vulnerable.
most-
like the door
yeah.
was open.
yeah, you said it. The most attractive element in that relationship is the V word. It's like that turns them on. Vulnerability. No,
Well,
vulnerability.
Okay, so
It's just, you
this
know.
is this won't be funny, but I hope the three of you can do something with it. You're totally right. What happens is that someone like Andy has this vibe that these guys pick up on, because it happened to me one time when I was very young, where a guy had said something in a bathroom, and it was like very forward. And like I didn't even think about it, and I left. And then upon later thinking about it, he was just picking up on the fact that I was alone, because I was alone in a different town by myself, and there was this weird thing. And I think those people, like your principal, the guy running the pool, these people pick up on a vibe that Andy clearly was not consciously, but was putting out there, that made him like all these situations. It's not a coincidence. It's these people.
Oh, I know, yeah.
They focus on why it's all happening in Coquille. I have no idea.
And I mean, it was for one, my mom worked. My mom was the magnet. She was the one who drew them in. The one who moved into our house through community action. She's sitting there handing out cheese and food stamps or whatever they did there, help people get organized and shit. And my mom's all, here, do you want the keys to the van? The guy the van got ripped off, and it's just like shit like that. But that was part of it. The principal thing was, that was fucked, but I didn't even go to that grade school. But, the fact my 5th grade teacher was assaulting my girlfriend at the time. And then, but I think it was more like my world. And then the guy who I hooked up with, as they say, that was, I was picked up. I was traveling. I was sex. That's what I realized. I was sex trafficked.
That's even a more amazing aspect to this story, Andy, is that of all of the pedophiles circling your house,
like
you ended up avoiding all of them.
It was like Love
None
Connection.
of them got you.
It's like, would you like to be
out of town or came in and plucked you? That's fucking crazy.
I mean, my mom picked up a dude at the boat ramp and brought him home, and he was.
Whoa! Say that again. Your mom.
My mom would pick up, like, she'd be interested in fishing, and all of a sudden she'd go down and just start blathering. And then there was a fisherman. I forget his name, and like him and his crazy old fucking haggard wife became part of the family for a minute or whatever. And I went out on a boat with this dude, and I think he drank or whatever, but he had limited fingers.
No. Like we all have limited fingers. There are not infinite fingers.
Are limited to 10 fingers.
He was probably born with 10 fingers, and then something happened. Some went wrong on both hands.
Inattentive on the glue line.
But he was a fisherman, so I just assumed something like that. And I think he drank, but he was real insistent one time that he was going to teach me judo. And
of course he was.
I just remember thinking the only thing I knew about judo was that G.I. Joe had a judo grip, and this guy had nobility. I don't know. I thought maybe he would have a guest teacher when it got to that grip part.
Grip day? He's going to bring a guy in for grip day.
He used a lot of, I remember too, because I was this was 4th and 5th grade. He was around, he used a lot of salty language. He's sons of bitches and, like stuff
like a fisherman or a
like he talked like my Uncle Earl. But my Uncle Earl said it with a long, drawn out stutter. So it always sounded great when he got to it. Like, I don't fucking know.
Why are we just hearing about this guy now?
Uncle Earl was
mad.
Uncle Earl was
I'm glad because
I'm
more.
The cartoon, when we finally do this cartoon, we'll have to call Coquille something else, Cockfield or something.
Earl
But all these characters will be.
We're gonna call it Cockfield.
Yeah, well,
Cockwheel.
Uncle Earl lived up in
Oregon.
Cockfield. There you go.
Well, here's how cool Uncle Earl was. He was kind of was the original Coach in the Bad News, Walter Matthau-esque. Always wore big overalls, gray hair all puffed up and shit. He'd do the chicken dance whenever he got liquored up, but I didn't get to see him much. I enjoyed it, man. You go see Uncle Earl and Aunt Teresa, and they both had club fingers and were constantly smoking and lighting up one, the big giant ashes falling off the cigarette. Aunt Teresa would always say, "Oh, well, by golly, oh, by golly," as a thing, like, okay, oh, by golly, how you doing, by golly? And Uncle Earl's like, I'll leave him fucking alone. And but Uncle Earl, this is how cool he was. This was he'd get a big package sent to his house because he had a nosy neighbor, and he would just leave the package up on the porch, and the guy would just keep coming over and bugging him about, "What'd you get in the big package, Earl?" "I ain't looking." And he like when he came to my brother. My brother's chef, my brother's chef had this weird fucking he had a wedding reception, but it was like he got married down in Ecuador or whatever, and he brought his bride up, and we had a thing at my church, and it was in the basement. So church folk, we had Earl Rosenagel, and Looney hustled my dad to the basement. We could get my dad to the basement for potlucks, but he didn't care for it. But this was for my brother's thing, and my Uncle Earl was there, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. And last time I saw him, he goes, how tall are you? And I said, I'm 6 foot, because that's what they put on the football roster. I think they wanted to make it look like we were bigger than we were. So I thought I was 6 feet tall, and I said to Uncle Earl, I told Uncle Earl I was 6 feet tall, and he was about 6'3". And he looked out and he goes, "No, you're not."
Keep in mind, Andy had never been to a doctor's appointment, so it's not like he would have any other point of reference to know how tall he was.
Anything but 155.
I'm 6 feet tall.
Yeah, 155.
Coach says
55 was inaccurate too. That was probably an inflation. Why did the coach care? But I think he just inflated everybody a little bit, and so I thought I was 6 feet tall, and he told me, no, I was not.
There was a big difference in the on the high school football program when you opened it up and you looked at the players and the heights and the weights, and if you saw a lot of fives in there, you weren't too worried about that team. Yeah. That wasn't going to be a team that was going to give you a lot of problems.
Yeah, that was us.
And, numbers.
But I saw at my
brother's
weird reception, church. At this reception, Church of God, and whatever. It's just fucking, it's just weird. I don't want to be there. Nobody, I didn't want to be there anyway. I can't speak for the rest of them, who all enjoyed the Rosenagels Jello squares. And I guess I wish I'd have been more into drinking at the time, because I probably would enjoy a Rosenagel Jello square with maybe a little something in it, like that. Maybe that's what that church needed, was somebody to put some liquor in those things, man. I'll bet Sniffer Riddlin had more to say if you got him a little drunk. But anyway, I saw my Uncle Earl, and he was in the back corner there, and I went, "Hey, Uncle Earl, how's it going?" And he talked. I can't even do the Beaker voice.
Oh, from the Muppets. Beaker from the Muppets?
That's it, yeah. So I'm like, yeah, and I talked to him about 10 minutes, and him just, and God, it's like, oh man, this guy had a fucking stroke, and then a while later he's talking just fine. I think he was playing like he had a stroke just to fuck with me, because I think I started almost tearing up. I was like 19 years old. Oh, fucking Earl's fucking stroked out and shit. And I laughed one time. I was at his place, and he, how people walk into a glass door, and it's it's funnier than it should be. And I think that's what he walked into a glass door, and I was right there. and I couldn't help but laugh. So I see him 2 or 3 years later, and he fakes a stroke.
He
Just
never forgave
made me
you.
feel really fucking bad for him. Yeah, he was a good. I mean, I don't know what he was, but that was. I liked his fucking weirdness.
I watched Ryan Hennigan walk into a glass door once at a party, and it was absolutely the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I could laugh about it for 30 minutes straight if I concentrate on it.
It's one of the funniest
Because
things.
there's
you
nobody
see.
more flustered when that happens.
Yeah, yeah. But it's always I've done it myself. It's just like it's a motherfucker. But man, I would watch that on a loop like a Russian dash cam, just like a glass door all day. You're watching people. Oh shit! I know how this is gonna end. I had a friend. I was at a Mark Fleck, and we were walking, and Marco would get into his stories, and he'd was animated and head down, and he was walking, and I could tell he was gonna hit a telephone pole. And I didn't say anything. Wow, he's telling a story, and he's like head down, and he had glasses on, and he walks into it and knocks his glasses off, and oh, the fuck! And he didn't even think to be mad at me about it. I mean, I didn't say hi. I could have warned you, but I don't know. I mean, I just watched it in real time, like not maliciously, like going, oh, I can't wait for this, but I just saw it and didn't do anything to intervene. You don't want to play God all the time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I wish there was footage of my Uncle Earl doing the chicken dance. But I'm stuck. It's like I said, you get woke.
I think they do it like weddings. It's like da 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 da.
Yeah.
Da.
And I think because he was like 6'3", 6'4", and a big, big, like he was built exactly how you think a guy would wear those kind of pants around with overalls all the time. He was probably fleshy, and fuck, man, did that guy have the most, like Shaylee, you probably have something in the industry that resembles Uncle Earl hands, like a fucking cigarette. He had these wicked cool club fingers. Like he could have been in a Lord of the Ring movies just with his hands.
Lay all of his fingers look like big toes, or what? What am I picturing?
He could have played
here?
Gandalf. He could have played Gandalf's hands with his. He just, how club fingers and shit. You know what those are, right?
Really?
Like hammer toe.
No.
Heavy smoking, and your blood cuts off, and I think your fucking nails just kind of grow. Look, check Stanhope. He's probably not there yet.
What the?
But it's because he just didn't have any blood circulation. At the end, there was barely any. I mean, I love this too. Is he was always smoking in bed, and it's like he'd stay at the place, and there'd be blankets. Like fucking, it looked like they were Bonnie and Clyde had shielded themselves in the car with the blanket. So many fucking burn holes in it, and it was just in the guest room. Like, wow, there's like 30 times that this place almost burnt down, and Earl and Teresa just rolled with it. Yeah.
What is that? What is happening there? What did you type in to make that happen, Shaylee?
No.
I just went to ghostwrite.com and pulled up a picture of some of the hands my brother sells.
That's exactly good. Thank goodness. He's doing good work, your brother, because that's disgusting.
There was a kind of a weird family. Like Uncle Earl's kid, there was like a extended bunch of Matsons. That's what we call them, the Matsons. But Eddie Matson was my mom's first cousin, and he was like we talked about on Mayberry, that Ernest T or whatever.
Yeah.
Eddie was a weird character. He had a colostomy bag, and while he was like Earl, like it's like Earl was Don Senior and Eddie was Don Junior. Like every superpower that somehow Earl had, Eddie did not. Eddie, this is a cool thing. My dad was good on details, and he'd remember. There was a salad, and Eddie dug. It was like a tossed salad, but Eddie just took the stuff. Like the salad had not been tossed, and Eddie took the big spoons and took like. Oh, I took everybody.
Like a bowl of lettuce.
Yeah, a bowl of lettuce.
Fixins on top.
Everything that was left lettuce. And Earl didn't say shit, and Teresa's, oh, by golly, and they both have cigarettes burning at the table, and it's just, my family, we're always freeloading or, dumped off or staying, so we just, but my dad, oh, Eddie in the salad, but and hopefully Eddie, because he was, I remember that it's like, I don't want to see your colostomy bag, that's, I don't know if he was, flirting with me. It was pre days. I remember seeing
Your
his
childhood is just a fucking lit healthcare.
Yeah.
It's like every.
Well, we like to visit family.
Cartoon is going to be hilarious. I'm telling you right now. And I didn't.
Wait, someone. I mean, it's like Stand By Me. You want to see a dead body? Someone goes, "Want to see a colostomy bag?" No, no.
Yeah.
A doctor doesn't want to see a colostomy bag.
I think it was probably at the dinner table too, like him adjusting it or something.
Of course it was.
Oh, by golly, Eddie, can't you get that out there? Yeah. It was like I liked them so much when I was, in college and stuff, and I would go anywhere near Vancouver. I would pop in to see Earl and Teresa, like kind of my favorite favorite out of the family, because they were just fucking entertaining. And it was basically like Teresa would just kind of interview you and highlight everything with by golly. So it's like, fuck, how's school going? Great. I'm getting all C's. Oh, that's wonderful, by golly. And you're like, fuck yeah, man. I'm doing great, man. And then Eddie had kids too. And I can't imagine that went well. I mean, Eddie was he's the Larry of that branch. It was like
that's
my
mom's side.
My mom's cousin is Eddie, and my mom had Larry and Eddie. That would have been something. I don't know how many times those two were around each other, but if there could have been if that would have been a dream team.
First cousins?
Oh man,
it would have been second cousins, I guess, and twice removed, both times by law enforcement.
Twice forcibly removed.
Yeah. Three times fully incarcerated. But they were like simple folks, and they like pro wrestling, and so my mom's brother Bill, he was the one who he ran a trailer park. Like I guess they sold trailers or some shit, but he was connected to this guy Dutch Savage, and Dutch Savage was a pro wrestler in Portland, and he would make a pitch for my uncle's business on pro wrestling, and I was like, man, my family's killing it.
We have made it.
Dutch Savage is on a first name basis with my uncle, and Dutch Savage, he teamed up with Jimmy Snuka in some of the most memorable tag team matches of my childhood. Yeah, and Dutch Savage, I forget his thing. I think he was just a straight ahead wrestler. I don't think he had a real shtick.
Or was he?
I think he was he was with Snuka, so he was a good guy. Snuka only turned bad when he got ugly. They usually, you're either a pretty boy or you're, pretty boys are usually heels though. Yeah. Right? Fabulous, it's like, fuck, come on, man. You calling yourself that?
Hulk Hogan wasn't.
Is that Dutch? Yeah, it looks like him.
Yeah. I got a better picture coming up.
Yeah, see, he wasn't like built like the modern day wrestler, but he sure did make a pitch for Uncle Bill's trailers.
He had a bit of a flair with the, it looks like with the facial hair.
Yeah. I can see young Andy putting that on his wall.
He put me on his wall. I don't know. I never got to meet Dutch Savage, but I would always, that would be like, I'd hear that, and Uncle Bill knows that's his Uncle Bill's place, and I was like, that was like my dream. Like, was that Napoleon Dynamite where he has the fantasy about the wrestler or whatever? Yeah. That's what I was like, Dutch Savage will come to my school and we'll hang out, kind of shit.
Oh God.
He'll take me out to eat and pay for it because he's Dutch. No, I'll pay for it because he's Dutch. That's it. I tried to punt it up, man, and it fucking.
Yeah, see what happened?
There he is.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that curl of hair on the forehead there.
That picture looks like a bad comedy headshot.
Yeah.
Dutch Savage. Yeah, I know he threw a mean armbar. I didn't know what that was at the time, but now I do, and I respect his that's his armbar. But it was weird. That was a thing because my dad always watched the pro wrestling, and I'd get to stay up. I think it was Saturday night, and then we'd hear that thing on one of the ads, and yeah, it would just like I'd go up to bed late and dream about
Moment of pride for the Andrus family.
Yeah, and then my uncle got divorced, lost the trailer park, got a new family. My uncle started a new family, which I didn't learn. I didn't get how cool that was too. And Aunt Janet, I guess she got Dutch Savage in the thing. As I remember, I liked Aunt Janet, but we never heard from her again. And then Uncle Bill had a new family, but he did not have Dutch Savage anymore. Hey man, do you still have his number? Could we call him and just say, "Hey Dutch, we're just kicking around some ideas. Could you come over here? Throw an armbar on my nephew." he needs positive role man handling.
Is he still alive? Maybe we can get a cameo for Andy from Dutch
He died
Savage.
in 2013 at the age of 78.
Damn
I
it.
think my brother John delivered hospital equipment to his place. So I think my brother John was in delivering like lift and reclines and shit to houses, and he said he crossed paths with Dutch Savage, but he also said he saw Bigfoot. So
well, look at Dutch Savage. It might have been at the same time.
Might have been, same story.
I would 100% believe Dutch Savage existed without even seeing footprints. You'd have to disprove.
Hey, Andy, you might be interested. In 2013, that's when he died. But they came out with a biography DVD titled "Don't Count Me Out: The Dutch Savage Story."
Wow!
I guarantee it's available on YouTube.
There was here's another wrestler of the day, Bull Ramus, and I don't know.
That was his tag team partner.
Bull. Yeah, and he was he was
with Bull Ramus.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's what it was. And so, but here's the thing, we're woke now. He was a heel. Bull Ramus had legitimate complaints about the government. That was his thing. He was an angry Indian, and white men speak with forked tongue. They don't honor their things and whatever. And it's like, boo! Come on, man. I could talk to that little kid me and go, don't boo that Indian. He's right.
Yeah.
He's right. Dutch Savage represents corporate interests, and they're stealing water from Bull Ramus, and he has every right to be leery about signing any more contracts with white men. Mm-hmm. He probably bought a trailer from my grandpa or my uncle Bill.
Oh man, I'm on Bull's side. Bull is right.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I have to look at that feud with a different lens and go, Bull Ramus, as people were mistreated.
I was just reading. That's where Dutch started as a heel in the Pacific Northwest Wrestling Association. He started as a heel, and with Bull Ramus is when he turned to be a face, which is, I just found out, was the good guy.
So he started feuding with an Indian, and he turned just like a white man. Like, oh, nobody likes this white man. Well, he's beating up that fucking Indian. Hey, good for you, dude. Something about these red men. And then this guy's a hero. Yeah. Dutch Savage, a fucking fraud of my childhood. What I really needed was Bull Ramus to come over and smoke some weed with me. And hey, I know I get a little angry in my wrestling rhetoric, but you wouldn't believe what they're doing to us.
Yeah, I think he could have helped you. He could have warned you, like, listen, man, don't trust the powers that be around you. You're surrounded by.
Take my spirit and meet me at Standing Rock. Where'd you go?
If I learned one thing, is to always wash blankets if people give them to you.
Yeah.
Run them through the hot cycle.
Put some bleach in there. Don't take chances.
I think it's so ironic that Andy is so close to meeting a couple of men who could have led him down a different path.
Well, I mean, it would have been like Platoon if I met Bull Ramus and my man there, Dutch.
If only Dutch would have come to your school, and you could have held his hand and walked him around the school and shown him off all of your friends.
How cool would it have been?
Everything would have fucking changed for you,
Fifth
man.
grade, I go in there and go, hey, I'm bringing somebody in to show and tell Mr. Havers. After we do our sing "Taking Care of Business," me and Mike Reeves will sing "Taking Care of Business," and that'll be the walk-up music from my man Dutch. He's coming in to talk to you about taking my girlfriend Tony away from me and teaching her how to suck dick. You know that Dutch Savage has something to say to you about that. Oh, and Bo Remus is out there rifling through your car, bro.
Reparations.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, and he's entitled. He's not taking anything he shouldn't have had anyway. I'm not saying. Yeah.
Be glad Bull's not taking your yard. He's just gonna take some of your cassette tapes.
Yeah, I want to see fucking Bo Remus come back and get what he deserves.
I didn't really understand that, but you killed yourself on that.
Oh, I love it.
Well, I was thinking of that Clint Eastwood. Deserves got nothing to do with it. They bring the old Indian wrestler back. It's like, what'd you bring me back for? My body's ruined, man. I brought you back because I'm enlightened now. I did some mushrooms and just thought we'd hang out, dude. I hope. I mean, I'm going to research him, but I would be heartbroken to find out that he wasn't Indian, or at least,
he was
Jewish. Like he was faking the Indian experience, because really he didn't get too much into it. He just kind of said that we lied a lot.
Yeah,
and he's right.
White man speak with forked tongue. He probably did that one a lot.
Yeah, and I was like, what? How do you get a forked tongue? I didn't understand, but yeah, I enjoyed that wrestling back in the day. It was probably my, those easy days of just big gyms and they could wrestle chest to chest. And, I think they did get into some wrestling, but there was no grudges. There's no Dr. Steele talking shit with the Indian over a fire about Big Jack and Big Jim. They're like, once they rolled around chest to chest, they changed clothes and sat down and had a cup of coffee in their hand.
Yeah. Big Jim and the boys wrestled like real wrestling, like we're just a couple of guys out in the woods just tangling.
Yeah. I don't know why they should have done that.
Thank you. Look. Here, everybody.
Listen.
Carrie Mitchell, who brought me a Lone Star.
Hey, Mitchell.
Going to the state.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi,
The
guys.
early scenes from Scarface. Pretty soon the big furniture is arriving and the big fucking and then we got the big pile and I can't test nobody.
Yeah, I'm in a house big enough now where if I need a beer, I have to text somebody instead of just literally reaching behind me and opening the refrigerator from the dining room.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So we had we got a new guest. It's an older woman. I like her, but so this morning I have headphones on, sitting down there, going about my business, watching whatever. No, I don't need to tell anybody.
Andy, you have an Airbnb, and
Yes.
you have a guest, meaning you have a
Oh
paid,
yeah,
okay?
yeah, paid guest, a lady.
We've got
Her name.
on Patreon.
I thought you were talking about Erickson for a minute.
I know. I'm confusing. That's why this only works.
You
with
go
guys.
fast sometimes.
Yeah, but so okay, we have an Airbnb. It was so we rented it, and it's an older lady. The name kind of tipped me off that maybe it was an older lady or whatever. But so I'm listening to maybe porn or whatever. But I'm downstairs. I'm not up with her. We're not hanging. But this morning, 6 or whatever in the morning, and I'm listening to, how women are, grunting or whatever. Two women. Anyway, and then I hear a thump, like a body hitting the floor kind of thump.
Uh-oh.
And then I'm like,
Hazel's down.
I did that. Yeah, I did that. I did that, and then I was like, but I heard that I'm just not. And I would say, I hadn't had my coffee, but I
fallen down. You expect to hear her fall down again?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
lower unless you're on the
It's weird how I know instinctively what the sound of a body hitting the floor sounds like.
I thought
But I
we
was
were
listening
saving
to-
questions
but I
for
was-
the end.
there
That's
was-
why I didn't
there
want to
was a-
ask.
There was a scissoring is what they call it. There was some scissoring going on in what I was listening to, but I heard a crut, and then I didn't hear anything. And then Mr. Squishles comes ambling through the room. So I was like, okay, that must have been it. Then later in the morning, I go up to water plants up there, and she's sitting out there, and we talked for a bit, and then she goes, something she wanted a gauze. I go, oh yeah, and then she showed me
Gauze?
her arm, yeah, gauze, and she had, like the most it looked like a professional football player's artificial turf burn on her arm, like about this long and bleeding and
Like a
seeping, and
rash.
she had
A rug burn. Like a rug burn.
Kleenex, yeah, and she's like, well, I got to go down and get some stuff for my arm, and she goes, did you hear me fall out of bed? And I go, oh yeah, I guess I did. I just thought it was part of the movie. But now that but her arms was pretty sliced up, and I got first aid and all that. But bummer.
And to be clear, the movie that you were listening to, it was a porno, right?
Well, it wasn't even a movie.
Okay, I just wanted to make
The
that
scene.
clear.
The scene. I was watching the daily.
I thought for sure that this story was going to end with Andy still had his phone hooked to a Bluetooth speaker in the Airbnb watching porno.
The speaker was upstairs.
No,
How come I
don't know.
can't hear it? I like to hear it. All right, I'll jerk off with it even though I can't hear it.
I don't need
Whatever.
the sound.
Whatever.
I wasn't jerking off. I was just scouting talent.
No kidding.
But yeah, so she's pretty but she wants to continue hanging here. But she's cool. But I goes, I'm sorry, and she goes, it's not your fault. I go, well, and it's like she's never been married, so she don't need no pity, And so I go, I guess, but she was in the Peace Corps and a teacher, and I don't know, spinster.
Yep.
I'll find out later tonight when I go rebandage your wound.
I have a theory, but it would be just an assumption. Is she a lesbian?
Yeah, volleyball coach in there somewhere.
No, I don't think.
Because she could be just at her age, she may have had to stay in the closet her whole life, so she was just single.
Well, I don't know.
Stonewall, Andy. See what she says.
Yeah, yeah. She wants to hang out and extend things, and then the word from the other people in management, we're like, well, she fell, and I go, let's see how she does. She teeters again, she's out.
Seems like a liability, Andy, for you.
Yeah.
I think it was.
That's a homeowner's claim. Airbnb's not going to help you out.
We have a 2 fall minimum here.
Well,
2 falls
Wait,
and
so
you go in the
they have to
hot
fall
hole.
twice?
Two
You mean you have a
2
two
falls
fall
in
maximum?
yeah, two falls is
Andy,
involuntary.
that's different language. If
Yeah.
you're telling every tenant there's a 2 fall minimum, that means 2 of
They
them
have to fall twice.
every time they stay there.
She goes, we were sitting there and she's looking at the tree or one of the trees, and she goes, what's that cable up there? And I go, oh, that's that's the last of my hanging ropes. I still got it up there.
you didn't say that,
No,
did you?
No, I just said I use that.
What
to
did you
trim
say?
branches. I tied that up there when I was trimming branches I'd say I was, put it up there, make it look like an accident. So
That makes sense.
ladder fell and got all jimmied up. Whoops.
If she's a spinster, she knows what a hanging rope is.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, she was in a war zone in Poland. I don't know any of this. While I walked down to go get her first aid. Then all the intel was gathered, so I found out.
She was in a war zone in Poland. How old is she?
Like
Jeez.
the greatest
8,
generation?
70,
I mean, we're talking
70
World War
something.
II. One?
Well, I mean, Poland. It probably wasn't a full war, but Poland's always coming apart.
Well, yeah.
Was
There was
she
like
asking? When she asked about the rope, was she asking where the footholds are to get
was
up there? Maybe
Where's
she's
the
done.
map to get to it?
No,
Yeah.
She heard about your suicide park on Airbnb and just tried to off herself up in the room.
I'm always amazed at people who understate their fucking thing, you know? I was like, yeah, I could use a Band-Aid. And then she's got this fucking horrific rug burn. Yeah. It's like huge. And, you know, like there was this guy who was panhandling one time. And he had fucking gigantic hands. And he did not even mention that in why he needed money at all. It didn't come up. I was like, holy shit, man, look at your hand. He goes, oh, yeah. And he had a hospital bracelet all fucking almost ready to fucking, you know, burst off because his hand's so much swollen up from, you know, and then I gave him everything I had, which was a fucking, you know, I go, here, man, you got giant hands. Here, let me dump a bunch of change in it.
So, Andy, if you were a homeless guy who had giant hands.
Throbbing, it had to be.
How would you react? How would you treat that situation differently? What would you do to get you money?
I'd have a cup.
But that
his hands were like double.
Andy berated his sign because his hands were fucked up. Your sign is not accurate.
Got gigantic hands.
Fat
hands. Lead off with that. Go, but he was just like, and I wasn't going to give him anything. And then I saw his hands, and I'm like, holy shit, you know, why aren't you in the hospital? And he goes, I was there. And he wasn't going to be around. And then I gave him change, but it was like all I had was maybe $2 in quarters and dimes, and then I put it in his big giant fucking hand. And I was like, you know, and I felt like, you know, it's like I tried to help, and I just shit in this guy's chest, leaving a bunch of dirty change in this big gigantic infected hand.
You said he didn't address the hands. How does Mr. Balloon Hands somehow like weave that into
he comes up to go, hey, I need money, you know, and I go, no thank you know, I was ordering something at a window, and I go, no thanks, you know, or whatever. I put him off. And then I saw him sitting there, and his hands were fucking gigantic. So that, you know, is a big conversation starter. It's like, whoa, what's going on with your hands there? And then, you know, it's like my first hand. Yeah, I go, what's going on with your hands there, man? And
so you initiated the contact then after you told him to beat it.
I didn't tell him to beat it. I just said I didn't have any change, and which was basically true because I was using a credit card for the purchase, but I did have change in my car. So, and I saw his big gigantic hand. We started talking, and he was out of the hospital. I don't think he was going to be around. And then I go, here, man, and I gave him the change, and then I dumped it in his hand. And then it was like both of his hands were fucked up. I mean, one was like cartoonishly large. Also, you know, it was like, you know, to get you know,
trust
I just
me, we get it. I cracked up out loud while I was pissing when Shaylee said, "Mr. Balloon Hands." My fucking quiet neighborhood got me to cackle out loud. Yes, we understand. Fuck this.
Yeah, what I would do different if I were him, I would have a sign that said, "Look at my hands," and then have a cup. That's it.
The hands are obvious. It's a visual.
Drop the mic, you know, or you can't even grip the mic.
In front of you. And he goes, hey, spare some change. And there's like this big fucking huge hand coming at you. You see the hand.
He come up behind, you know, when you see somebody and you go, oh, fuck, here we go, you know, and you kind of like focus on your thing. And he goes, and, you know, so he wasn't like not playing his hand game or hand card. Not that he wasn't playing his hand card. It's just I didn't see it. And then he sat down and he was like, you know, it's like when he really, you know, it's like we all put an edge up, and they put, you know, it's like, hey, can I? And then when you just see this, I saw a broken old man with a health crisis and frustrated, and you know, and I was like, man, what can I do to help this guy? And you know, and then I gave him a bunch of dirty change, and then I was thinking, well, I could have gotten him soup, could have got him a glass of water, you know, but it's like I tried to help. And I just gave him like, you know, $2.75 in dirty change in a big infected hand. And, you know, but it's like you can't help
more than I would have done, honestly. So, you know, I wouldn't feel bad about it if I were you.
Can I get you gloves?
Where would you buy big fat gloves?
I think you just get a extra large and then blow in it.
Arctic mittens.
Yeah. Here, what's his name? The fucking, fuck it.
I got.
Blows up the rubber glove.
Oh, Howie Mandel.
No, I'm starting to lose fucking names or things. It's like
I think you do pretty well, dude.
If you start losing names, Andy, this podcast is over.
Yeah, well, just make them up.
I'll come up with other ones that don't exist.
Yeah.
Dizzy Jalinda. That was fucked. Combined with, see, you can tell if
Listen,
I'm fucking
this-
making them up. You can't fictionalize a
None-
hoot or a
my new favorite is Uncle Earl. Trust me,
I
I'm
love
like
Uncle Earl.
fascinated.
yeah,
Uh,
like well,
Guys, I'm not speaking to Andy. I'm speaking to the other two dudes. Honestly, the fact that Uncle Earl came up
speak with forked tongue.
and Teresa is just like, we don't know where this is going. All of a sudden, there's this whole other universe that like there's got to be more. It just keeps evolving.
It's beautiful when a new door opens up.
Yes.
It is dark and scary in Coquille, but it's exciting.
Well,
Did you
this-
say cockfield or
Cockfield,
Coquille?
Cockfield.
Oregon.
that was God, the first thing I did in comedy, fuck that. We talked about him before, but the old school Tribble headliner, he's still alive, like an 80
Yeah,
hairpiece guy, but he goes,
J. Wendell
Cokeville.
Walker.
yeah, Jay Wendell Walker, and he goes,
Yeah.
Cokeville, oh, this should be interesting. And I was like, hadn't even done coke at that point. But yeah, that was ironic, huh? Cokeville, but he, if you ever work with him, he was
J. Wendell Walker.
yeah. Yeah, he was
He
all
played Coots, if you can believe it.
Yeah, he did.
He called there so often that Duran, the owner of Coots, booked him and then asked me, "Hey, who's this guy?" And I'm like, he's like a fucking like Catskills guy, but on the in Pacific Northwest. I go, you didn't book him, did you? He goes, "Yeah, he's here right now." I go, "What?"
he's calling clubs. Yeah,
He
he's
did
come
the
to that
bit
old school.
where he did a bit about hiding his key to get into his house or whatever, and then he'd lift up his hairpiece and his key would be there, and he'd grab it.
I heard him
Like,
do
come on,
I heard
Jay.
him do one about San Francisco, or tell him, don't drop the soap there. I dropped my car keys. I kicked them all the way out of town.
I'm telling you, he's been doing those jokes as long as they've been hackneyed.
Yeah. The first thing I did in this Coos Bay comedy competition, and this
Look at that handsome
guy,
devil.
the promoter or whatever, the guy he was like a phony thing for this guy to rip off a fundraiser, but he goes, "There's going to be a celebrity headliner," and that's who it was. Jay Wendell. He was fucking grifting the whole fucking I was thinking Robin Williams maybe.
Yeah.
Brings up celebrity comedian. He's from the Bay Area. It's like, oh man, this is gonna be something. Robin Williams gonna pop in here and kill this motherfucker.
To J. Wendell Walker.
Yeah, he's probably waiting for COVID Dan to get back out on the road.
Yeah, he should take Argus Hamilton out with him.
Yeah, at least he's died. He'd be one of those guys who died on the stage after dying on stage. He did 10 minutes of dying and then he just died.
That would be the ultimate headline in the newspaper the next day. Comedian dies on stage twice.
Resurrected by a small polite round of applause, only to drop dead a few minutes later in the green room. It writes itself. If I were fucking if I were casting something and you needed a old comic to be a Catskills, that would be your guy right there. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's a good guy too.
Yeah.
I mean, his act was fine. It was professional. It was the same thing every time, but it was exactly what you knew it was going to be. It was what you paid for.
One-liners, and they were
Yeah.
good. Yeah, it was like when he did it was a very much a Rodney Dangerfield presentation, but the jokes weren't.
Yeah, without the originality.
Yeah.
But he worked
he's a
his
charming guy.
ass off. He worked his ass off to get it to Coots.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But
Well,
and he fucking
It worked.
he did it. He did the exact same set every single fucking night, and all I want is that do your time, right, Andy? Do your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that
Hey,
listening to.
Shaylee, Remember how earlier in the show Andy was talking about how his mom would go to the grocery store and she'd have a list, and then she'd get to the grocery store, no list. That's Andy and set lists. Like, hey, you got your set list? Oh, I'm on stage. Oh,
Yeah.
I can't remember what I was supposed to get. There's a whole list of stuff.
Wait, I
I'll
forgot
just start
something.
grabbing shit willy-nilly off the shelves and see what happens.
Yeah, I'll grab something I haven't even really thought about. I just sort of heard something a minute ago. And now I'm going to present it as a fully formed opinion.
I love you, man. Holy shit. We got to wrap this thing up pretty soon because Shaylee's got to go too. Shaylee, how's St.
Shaylee's
Louis?
in St. Louis, aren't you?
In St. Louis. I want to hear about
St. Louis, man. It's fucking crazy. We've because of COVID, we cut down my brother's business, like everyone's business, cut back. It's like we usually have like 8-9 people here, like in the booth and selling and everything. It's a Halloween convention out here. It's huge. It was last year. We loaded the truck. 12 hours later, COVID shut down St. Louis. So and other people had already sent their shit here and had to pay for it to come back, go there and come back, and then to be out of work for a year. So this is the first time this opened, and it's crazy. There's 4 of us, my brother and myself, and our spouses, who are probably going to leave us after this. But I gotta say, it's
we actually know your spouse does have a break from you coming up, so you can fucking pour it on right now.
Well, we still got to make it to Monday. But it's gone fucking smoothly. It's so weird. It's like you got more people, and you're fucking dealing.
Are there people? I mean, like, what's the audience situation? Like, how does it all work?
Check this out. There's over 400 exhibitors. There's 500,000 square feet of showroom floor.
Is this in the TWA Dome or whatever the fuck it's called?
It's the America Center in St. Louis. The problem is that where we're at in St. Louis is a fucking shithole. This town's gotten really, in the area near the America Center, has gotten really fucking bad. So I don't know what's gonna happen. But Chad,
part of that is also that all cities
don't run from the police there. They don't like it.
All cities are in really bad shape right now at the end of this pandemic because they have been, here in Austin, they just passed an ordinance to reinstate the camping ban because when COVID started, they said you could camp anywhere you wanted, and then then people did. Yeah. So every city is struggling.
They're all
most of these cities did is. They weren't really scared about. Hang on a minute. They weren't really scared about people's health or worried about people's health. They just wanted to have a year of not having to apply any resources to that problem. Just fuck it, let it go. It's like what? It was like me growing my hair out. It's just like, well, I don't have to get a haircut anymore. And that's how every city has dealt with homelessness during the pandemic. They're like, well, we're just not going to do it. So
going with a mullet.
I'm sure St. Louis has got the same sort of problem where until they figure out a way now to come back from that, it's going to be pretty fucking gnarly out there.
Yeah, Eugene, you drive around, it looks like, Grateful Dead's playing or something.
It's like a music festival. You're right. It's like the last day of a music festival. Mm-hmm. And,
I feel like my bike is in like 15 different places. It's like, and I don't have a bike now, but if I was homeless, that would be, it's like cool to have a bike or whatever, but enough with the bikes. They're like 15. It's like, what are you guys hosting the fucking tour? Like, there's like bike hoarders. It's like, maybe, sell some of them for crack or whatever. It's not even that. I mean, it's like villages of people, like families.
Yeah, well, it's like this.
Like,
listen, if your dream was always to own a bike shop, you always wanted to own a bike shop, then own a bike shop.
Cans and bike shops.
Don't live in a tent by the expressway and steal all the bikes. Like, there's other ways you could live your dream.
That's the thing. The ones right by the underpasses and shit. It's like, fucking, there's 15 bike frames in there. Come on, man.
Yeah, yours is long gone, buddy.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. I
hate to
pray.
see
I pray for it, but I know it's just like when my mom prayed for her purse. Yeah.
Uh,
Your
Oh,
birthday.
St. Anthony.
Oh, shit. All right. Well, let's wrap this up.
All
This has been quite an amazing show to me. I'm thankful for it.
Because you
Uh,
didn't.
It was
Great
quite a
job.
fucking ride, and I can't wait to hear more about these people, Uncle Earl and Teresa and Grandpa Larry. That was something, dude.
And
Bandy.
the Bonnies.
Andy.
oh yeah, the
Yeah.
Lucky Bond.
Well, that house is cool because it's the house is cool. It's like the first house built there, and it's all
It's not coming up on any of my searches.
We've got to do. We're gonna
Oh,
have
the
to do
Bonnie
a.
house is Tokyo, just the Bonnie house, and it's a, you'll see why they didn't want, and our house is a real cool house, but not when we lived in it. I mean, it was in disrepair. We had rats and shit. And other people put tile on the roof. We couldn't get Dad up on the roof because of his paralyzed legs, and it was a steep pitch.
Why would you put a man with no legs on a roof? That
Well,
just
eventually
seems like
we
an
hired
insurance fraud.
What? He
somebody
can't
who
run a
presented
nail
himself-
gun. He's got arms.
Eventually, we hired somebody who
Fuck,
presented himself.
You're gonna
as a
live
professional-
You start at the top. Here's how you do it, Shayla. You start at the top. You give him the nail gun, and as he slides down, he just puts as many nails in as he can, and then you pick him
Pull
up.
him back up.
You hoist him back up.
Yeah, he didn't do that.
Oh man.
Dude, your family is amazing, and your life is amazing, and thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah. I feel like all of this was a solid the solid beginning of season 3 of the cartoon.
There we go. Really do need to talk to some animators and think about it.
Kardashians.
It's all written. It's all written. All the notes are written down. I mean,
know.
it's,
Yeah, I think we just need to go on Fiverr and find some guy in like Norway some kid who wants to do a cool animation.
Or a female. We don't want to be sexist here.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we want to
yes.
climb
I'm
mountains.
just
We
being a
don't.
dick.
I think he said a kid. Yeah.
As Captain Doctor.
Yeah, clearly that doesn't bother me.
What the fuck, Erickson? Did you get more woke when you moved to Austin? How did that happen? Your woke meter went too far over.
Yeah, but you got to take your woke meter back to the
He wants his
beginning.
hair back.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the challenge. You woke up
Oh.
when you're a baby, man.
Oh, fuck, I'm wasted.
All right. Peace.
No, hold on a second. I have to tell you right now, the fucking coolest thing. I don't know if you guys, Andy's freaked out by clowns. Eric said I never went to a haunted house with you, but Chad, the biggest haunted house, one of the biggest ones in the country, is right here in St. Louis. It's the Darkness, and
Banning them?
what?
Are they banning clowns? Yeah.
No, they've been open. It's a fucking huge haunted house. The guy who owns it, Larry, fucking he goes, hey, I'll ghost rides pumpkins. I did this whole thing. It's like 4 rooms of pumpkins, right? He bought every pumpkin, every style, and then he called and he told my brother, I need like this many more, like 36 more, like this fucking crazy number. So we go there, and I'm videotaping. So I have video of going through this haunted house. The entire haunted house is turned on. It's 2 levels. It's this huge fucking thing. And there's 5 of us. That's the only people in the entire house. 5 people. At one point, we're going from the gift store to leave with Larry's wife. And she goes, okay, follow me. And this guy that's helping us in the booth, I go, okay, Tracy's in the middle. We're good. Dustin, you just follow. He fucking got lost in a pitch black haunted house, and he owns a haunted house. And he had to call from the fucking gift shop, I'm lost. Someone come get me. And it was hilarious. And it was the best
man.
And it
Yeah.
was
That's amazing.
And it was fucking
I've
amazing.
heard of that. Yeah.
So is it all year round? Does that place run all year round?
They run escape games year round, which are amazing. My brother supplied a lot of the stuff there, but I've got a ton of footage that I'm gonna try and put together. We can put on Patreon. So
Yeah, cool.
Oh my
Yeah, I
god.
want.
Wow,
I
very
want to
cool.
do a. I want to do a haunt this year for sure. If they're, socially
Oh,
distant,
Andy, I got
everybody's
too.
properly
I'm gonna
masked.
send you some video and some pictures.
Yeah,
I did
I
a
got caught by
3D
that one again. Greg sent it's like open this and then it's a whoa clown. It's like
It's Andy doesn't like clowns. So whenever I see something crazy like in your face, like well, I'm not gonna say.
I don't know why I don't. I mean,
Get ready, because
okay, yeah.
3D
I mean, I had
3D
good.
clown haunt I went through last night. So
Oh
I
God.
think it was the
Oh.
fucking clowns, the Shriner clowns.
yeah,
At the circus that spooked me or whatever. But I don't really have, Zizo taught me to say please and thank you and never was inappropriate at all. And he could
I
have
think
been.
that a lot of the problem with the clowns is when clowns are scary is when you see them outside of their element. They're supposed to be
Yeah.
at the circus and only at the
Right,
circus.
right,
When you're
yeah.
at the circus, they can
Uh-huh.
come out in their car,
Right.
they can run around, and they can throw buckets of confetti and honk their nose, and that's fine. But when you see them on the street, some fucked up shit is going on, and
Yeah.
it's not good.
Yeah,
Okay.
a clown after the circus is like going home after the comedy show, and the headliner's in the back seat, all fucking gacked up and shit. Like, oh no.
how far is your place?
Yeah. The clown outside of the circus is like, man, what's this pedophile just hasn't had the confidence to land the deal yet. He's trying too hard, man.
Did you just say a clown is like a pedophile without the confidence to make the deal?
Like, I mean, trying too hard. Come on, man.
Yeah, I
You
fucking
don't need
love
those
you. Let's
big-
end there. I fucking
Yeah.
love you guys.
Yeah, it's clown
That
slanders.
was great. Thank you, everybody out there. We love you, Patreon subscribers. Stick around, and we'll do some more fun shit. We'll set up a live Zoom sometime soon too. I think would be a good idea.
Nobody cut out the whole fucking podcast.
Been
We made it.
fantastic.
You wild Bill.
I just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
Fill
Just
my
leave me
house.
alone.
All right. Well, we love you guys out there. Thanks to you three. We'll see you later.